Reckless said, control the tempo of this game. Starting off with the picks and bans, Trundle Kindred taken away for Splyce. They're going quick. We do expect this, of course, the Gangplank, Red Side ban, and the Elise also taken off the board by ROCCAT.
Yeah, at this point, these are very standard bans, and I like that Splyce are changing things up. They've had a lot of priority on the Trundle, and I love the Rise ban. Wonderware played this last week and had not the best game. He went 0-4 in that setup, and this is such a great first pick. This is exactly what I think Splyce need to do. You need to keep it simple and play in a fairly safe way.
Taking the Tam Kench, unbenched once again after they prioritize that one. We'll see what the answer is for ROCCAT. How will they respond to this one? So far, it looks like they're thinking about this Kalista. They will lock it in along with a Rek'Sai for Airwax.
And at this point, I think if you're Splyce, you go, okay, well, let's maybe look at a Corki, look at a Victor, something that has wave clear from the mid lane with Corki in the AD carry. Cobby has played Corki in Challenger Series before, but for ROCCAT, this is a very solid 1-2 pickup here. Perhaps not the highest tier of jungler normally, but with Kindred, and now Elise banned away. Graves was one option that Airwax could have gone with. He also favors the Lee Sin a fair amount as well. Has opted for the Rek'Sai, will give them a little bit more control perhaps over the side lanes as this game opens up.
Yeah, with a couple of junglers banned away. You know, that was a fairly obvious option, but as you said, there were some early picks available as well. Trashy will have to do something new, however, since he has only played Rek'Sai and Elise. So this Graves has been seeing a lot of play. It might possibly get picked up with the top Tam Kench. It opens up some opportunities to take some squishier champions, and they do lock it in along with the Ezreal.
Yeah, I like Ezreal as a substitution for the Corki here as well. Either of them make a great AD carry pickup here. One thing as well, if they picked up the Corki here, that they'd have to be careful with is if they tried to run the Corki Alistar lane into like a Kalista Thresh. We've seen that go quite badly time and time again as that lane matchup doesn't work out in favor. So with the Ezreal, they do have the ability to flex it mid lane. I don't like it in the mid lane so much, especially not on Senkooks.
So talking about that Alistar, you know, it goes all the way to this second rotation for ROCCAT on the red side. This is a very strong lane. The Fate's Call enabling to throw that big cow in and start the fights with the big Pulverize. And if ROCCAT can wombo their combo just right, even combining it with the big Rek'Sai knockup as well, it could be a very bouncy game for Splyce.
Yeah, it could be indeed. And I like also looking back at the jungle pickup here, Trashy's pickup on Graves. It substitutes some of the damage that Wonderware doesn't quite have. He had the Lissandra, he had the Rise last week, was opting for damage, now opting for that tank.
The blind LeBlanc pickup for Betsy, though. It's definitely making a statement there.
Yeah, I actually think that if this wasn't Betsy, I would say this is kind of not a particularly bad blind pick. A lot of people are talking about how strong LeBlanc is right now. One of the absolute best mid laners when you're looking for that AP aggression. But Betsy doesn't feel to me like a player that has shown that propensity towards the likes of a LeBlanc this split. He's played 2 games of Rise last week, even played a game of Rise yesterday as well. So this is a big shift in style for ROCCAT.
Yeah, we're likely going to get to see that skill matchup between the Ahri. It has been a popular fixture here in Europe. We definitely would not be surprised to see this Morgana. A little bit of disengage. Again, they don't have to add another tank to the mix. Tahm Kench is really all the stats you need.
Well, at this point, this is basically a composition that says, well, if you ever engage on either our Ezreal or our Ahri, we're going to protect them. Tahm Kench plus the Morgana shield on top of that is going to deny a lot of the engage that Alistar is going to want to do. From there, they have the damage follow-up. Once this blue build Ezreal gets rolling, once Graves picks fights in the jungle, that's where Splyce can look to fight, but ROCCAT are setting themselves up to take control of this game very early on. They have the LeBlanc, they have Kalista for that lane pressure as well. Now what are they looking for the top lane? Shen would be an option if they just want kind of a stalemated lane with that global pressure.
Yeah, talking about Splyce drafting well, but ROCCAT having some early and mid-game tools for themselves. This is where Splyce really has struggled. And at the last second, they switch it over. Freddy will get his hands on Gnar, giving them some split push opportunities if they do get ahead in that early game.
And I like this. Freddy takes a pick that if he even gets remotely ahead, he's going to be able to sit on his own in a side lane and could become uncontrollable. Tahm Kench, if he falls behind, probably can't deal with Freddy's split push on his own, so that may drag somebody from Splyce across the rift to kind of help him out there. So I like what ROCCAT are going for in response to Splyce, but if Splyce play the slow game, can slow it down, they should just be able to control ROCCAT. But we've seen what ROCCAT can do in the early game in the last few games, and they have a fair amount of aggression.
That is very true. However, they have managed to blow some significant leads for themselves. However, Splyce This team of youngsters coming in, they've got the experienced coach Yamato Cannon, but his dulcet tones will disappear from comms the moment we load up onto the Rift, and he's got to let them off the leash. So, you know, I'm curious to see if ROCCAT can build up enough of an early lead to take this team out, or will that long poke composition, or rather poke and fight composition, really come out to play?
Well, that is the question, because now, as you said, there is no coach with them as on the Rift. We've seen it become a bit of a problem in their previous games.
Yes, indeed. But we want to know if you guys think that Splyce can pick up their first win here. Tweet us at LOL Esports with hashtag SPYWin, or if ROCCAT will pick up another ROC win. We'll check on your predictions in the game, see which comp you think will reign supreme. But they're getting ready to go. ROCCAT, Splyce, both these teams want to make a statement that they deserve to be higher up the ladder than they show right now, and they're ready to lay it out all on the line.
It's still going to be a bit of a tough ask for Splyce, I think. They have a good composition setup for how I think they should be aiming to play. It's fairly simple, fairly straightforward, but execution is always going to be the difficulty whenever it comes to these kind of setups.
But that's what you talked about, that Splyce is a team that was trying to do something beyond their bandwidth, do something that was overcomplicated. If they can get back to these basics and do it well, they might just be able to pick up a win here. As you see, 5-man invade. Also the response, Saphir and Edward are already up in the top side, so with the deep wards that they should be able to put in there, they won't be able to gather if the lane swap is happening.
Yeah, this is fairly similar to what we saw in our previous game. Airwax has been spotted with Freddy, so if anything, this should highlight, or should kind of give them the idea they get both wards as well, just in case. So Splyce are going to be in a position where they're not really expecting the lane swap here. They have seen Freddy. There is time to adjust, so that will play into the mind here of Splyce, but this gives them very little options to start this game.
Not making a decision just yet, but they have to very soon. All 5 members of Splyce really hanging out. Looks like we will see standard lanes coming through, with Trashy and Wonderwear going for the double jungle up on the Gromp, and ROCCAT's bot lane already up in the top. So this will give some time for Kabi and Nisbeth actually to start getting rolling on that Ezreal.
Yeah, we have the lane swap coming in here as well. I wonder, once the camp has been dropped by ROCCAT, they'll obviously go straight to lane. I wonder whether Trashy and Wonderwear will kind of realize that something is up and then move to the top side, or stay double jungling and look to try and control the map in another way. Honestly, it looks like they're sticking with the double jungle. They feel like something's up. The camp has been done, as Nah has shown in the bottom lane.
I want to favor ROCCAT really, because they not only have the larger amount of information available to them, but they've got the experience. They know how to handle these fast push scenarios that a new team like Splyce has so far not demonstrated mastery of. And we'll see if that holds true as this game starts off. So far it's a 2v0 in the top and a 2v1 in the bottom, with Freddy actually having to back away.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Kabi is doing his best, trying to just push this as fast. Well, actually, no, he's trying to do it as slow as he can at this point down in the bottom lane. Looking at how, in fact, he's CSing, and it's because Nisbeth has stepped away into the enemy jungle.
They're still expecting a swap back.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. They're expecting the support and perhaps AD carry to come bottom lane. This is very weird out of Splyce, actually, how Tahm Kench is kind of just running past the dragon into the enemy jungle as both supports. Now we finally get the setup.
Okay.
Here. It's a little bit slow from ROCCAT, how they sent Freddy. Finally sending him up to the top lane. This is a little bit slow from ROCCAT, considering they were the ones to start the lane.
Yeah, they should have been able to adapt to that quicker, but I think they got just as confused as Splyce was. So after a brief moment, we do finally get our 3v0s, so we will trade towers, and it's pretty even all said and done. So not terrible for Splyce. No aggression early on. I'm curious to see what Trashy does on this jungle Graves, if he can use it to the same effect as we have seen earlier today, and pretty much all over the place, all over the leagues on this 6.1 patch.
I'm also interested to see what the next move from Splyce is, because normally you'll just leave the top lane of bottom right now and move to the top and try and push, but Splyce are one of these younger teams. Like, I wonder how much they will have really solidified that. Yesterday, when we saw, or at least last week, when we saw the Zed play from Senkux, they were trading towers, and then they got a tower they weren't kind of expecting to with Senkux, and didn't really know what to do. Ended up kind of hovering around the mid lane, trying to slow the game. So at this point, Splyce should send their duo lane up to the top and try and stop Freddy from accruing some farm, but this top lane matchup, both of them only have 3 CS right now.
Yeah, speaking of those top laners too, they did at least give Wonderwear the kill on that tower. Primary gold for him. But it will be a slow start for both of these guys, as it is in these situations. But they're so key, both of them, to their compositions, because the Tahm Kench is so valuable for making sure the mid laner, the jungler in this case, and the AD carry are all safe, as well as being that bulky front line that can start the fights as well as disengage. But Freddy is going to be the key split pusher here. And I'm curious to see how they try to get their solo laners ahead.
One thing that we haven't really touched on just yet in this matchup is this middle lane, and Senkux actually got bullied out fairly heavily in the early game. You can see he was forced back. Yes, it will now give him the extra Jordan's ring plus the boots, but he was down in CS fairly significantly. And that's uncharacteristic for what we've seen from Senkux in Challenger. He was normally the player that was dominating the lane with picks like this Ahri, always taking the good trades. And it just seems like 2016 for Betsy has been a far more solid year than we saw in the last year. 2015 for Betsy was a little bit rough at times.
Yeah, he's definitely bringing in a little bit more experience, and it could be the same thing happening to Senkux as happened to Betsy last year. So, being up on that big stage, being able to play some games and kind of feel it out and how that affects you on a mental level, as well as being able to keep your cool, is very important. And Betsy has learned that lesson. In the skill matchup, he's not too far ahead of Senkux, to be honest, as that will bounce right on back with the wave pushing forward. But you got to be careful dealing with a Blanc. You can't even blink for a second.
So ROCCAT, rather than keeping their duo lane bottom to push it down, or at least sending them bottom lane to push out and trade the second tower, they put their duo lane in the top. That's going to slow down the push from Splyce. Trashy and Airwax. This is kind of where Graves wants to fight, but he is at a level disadvantage. Couldn't clear out that ward either, so that's a bit of a loss there for the Graves. Very difficult to clear those pink wards with Graves, because you've got to reload all the time. So you have to reload twice to actually take out a pink ward. It's really, really frustrating.
Settles for the Gromp in the meantime. Airwax is actually going to be coming back around the side, but you know, as best a 2v2. The teleports are both already in that bottom side. Airwax will clear out another ward of his own. And Trashy throws one more down. But you can see that Splyce are trying to angle for this bottom side dominance for the time being, at least vision-wise. But they're not really able to get much more than just a couple of wards.
Well, they're trying to keep Wonderwear relevant in this game. They managed to get Freddy away from the wave for enough time that he's only level 3 when Wonderwear is level 5. That obviously will become more apparent when they hit level 6. If Freddy isn't ready for any kind of engage, can't teleport in with the Mega Nub, that's a big difference now in power between the two team compositions. If Splyce can get that kind of skirmish. They do have level 6 on Senkux, could look to find a catch in the jungle, as Airwax is actually fairly aggressive in. You can see Trashy is looking to close in, but I don't think he's confident enough right now with Edward roaming through the jungle himself. Also Senkux gets chunked out.
Yeah, still taking way too much damage there for comfort level as Betsy chunks him. It's a good combo. Meanwhile, 3 ROCCAT members up on the Rift. Herald ganging up here. There should be no response. There's also a network of ROCCAT tunnels in the area, which means that Splyce have not wanted to venture really anywhere near that, and it will go over.
The only time we've really seen these early Rift Heralds is when the blue side or red side have been opting for the dragon. Freddy now isn't quite 6, so still knows he can't take this fight, just has to buy the time, flashes away. So normally it's when the other team are taking Dragon, you'll see the Rift Herald taken just because it's an objective to take at that point. This time ROCCAT have slowed the push from Splyce top lane, know that the bottom lane or the bottom half of the map cannot take the Dragon for Splyce, so it's a free objective for themselves. Very little given away in exchange for that, really only the flash from Freddy, but that could become troublesome as this game continues.
They do decide to double up on him, but Anar can usually take care of himself once he gets enough stats, but he has been reduced to grabbing the double Doran start. It will delay his build significantly. His opponent, Wonderwear, has got the quick boots already, so not too much stats, but he's able to get in and get out very quickly. Trashy is hanging around on this bottom side. He's going to back now, but he might cancel that if Freddy steps too far forward. Still level 5.
At this point, Wonderwear just wants to be able to stick on top of Freddy, so that even after the jump, as long as he doesn't get the bounce, he can just run up and devour him. That's what he's looking for. Reduce that slow as much as possible. Mid lane, taking a look at the itemization, nearly an Abyssal Scepter for Betsy, whereas only the Negatron Cloak out from Senkux, but that does give Senkux that little bit more safety to stay in the lane. He'll get chunked out less and less, but still, is you know, it's not worrying at this point. It's a fairly common build path to go the defensive route first for a mid laner, but I know Senkux as a player gets very frustrated when he has to go defensive first.
And he has had to do that quite a lot. Not the easiest start for the Splyce mid laner. Young Dane in the mid lane, along with all of his teammates. See Trashy and Senkux looking to move down to the bottom side. Airwax is going to throw out a quick tunnel, and Freddy will slowly hop, skip, and jump his way out of harm's way. So Splyce attempt on the bottom lane is foiled. Meanwhile, with the Rift Herald buff, Saphir and Edward are forcing down a mini wave in the top side. Edward looking to zone away Nisbet. So far, so good.
That was a very optimistic binding going in there from Nisbet. Just like, well, I hope you step over by this wall. Doesn't get it. Anyway, at this point, ROCCAT you know, they're controlling the pace of this game fairly well, and that's something that that Reckless was talking about just before this game, actually talking about tempo control and how that can then lead to further sieges. If ROCCAT can keep up the control of this game, we could look to see them swing mid. They don't have the best siege composition as it is. They have a lot of threat from champions like LeBlanc, so it's difficult to stay around turrets. But as for actually taking them down, it's not the same as the likes of a Corki that we've seen from other teams. But, you know, I think Saphir will be very confident on this Kalista as this game opens up.
We have seen a lot of success from Kalista today, some really impressive scores. It'll be interesting to see if Saphir can live up to that, because he's another player that has definitely not had the easiest of starts here in the LCS, as this is his debut season.
Yeah, hasn't...
Oh! Okay, Senkux, be careful.
Yeah, Senkux right now is not having the most fun game for himself. Really kind of struggling to find his footing. The one place he will start to open up is if they can get some vision control around the mid lane. Look for picks using the Spirit Rush. And as you can see on your screen, True Shot Barrage, Cobby is going to have to start using that a whole lot now that it's available. Just clear through waves, try and stop ROCCAT from pushing.
Yeah. So far, they will not be denied, though, as they take a chunk out of the top, they take a chunk in the middle, controlling that map, and ROCCAT just, or rather, Splyce just doesn't see that much as Senkux takes another chain and can't land the orb on the way out. Betsy is just too quick for him.
Man, at this point, for Splyce, this is such a tentative game, especially when you look at that game yesterday against H2K, where Splyce were just kind of ending up having, Vitality playing into them, and not really doing a lot, not really making their own plays for themselves. Now they finally have a bit of control over their top side jungle. They're able to kind of push back ROCCAT in the top lane, but mid lane is going pretty badly for Splyce right now, and they're not able to secure any kind of control on their side lanes because of that. Now you can even see ROCCAT are pushing down through the jungle to try and just push Splyce away from their bot lane turret, and it's working already. They've lost track of Airwax.
Yes, they have. You gotta be careful moving even into your own jungle at this point. They can't quite contest their own Krugs, as Edward is also a roaming around. I think it really comes down to these teams' expectations. You know, looking at ROCCAT coming in, a lot of people said that they weren't going to be anywhere near the top level. They definitely showed up in the opening day, and they've had a little bit of trouble since then, but they've also said themselves, we want to survive, we want to stay in the LCS, build out from there. But Splyce seemed a lot more confident coming in. They said, we can be a playoff-bound team. They have not shown anywhere near that level yet. There is still time, but managing those expectations is very important, and knowing what your limitations are as a team to start things off. I think ROCCAT's got a much better handle on that.
I think so, but I think ROCCAT's is a little bit more clear from an organization point of view. Splyce, when you look at this team, they're not exactly sure coming into the split where in the ladder they should be. They'd like to think that they'd be in the top half, but until you've really got that, you know, set of games under you, it's difficult to tell. The one thing in this game that is for certain is that Splyce, once they get Ezreal with 2 or 3 items, he can actually deal a whole lot of damage, and I know Cobby will be fairly confident on this Ezreal. He's played champions very similar to it before in this kind of play style, and wonder where, as long as he plays a defensive act for Cobby, they should be able to keep him alive. And that should be enough to, you know, hold the fights, but this is a whole lot of hypotheticals for Splyce here. If they fall apart by having all of their towers get pushed down earlier, ROCCAT are just going to run away with this.
Yeah, here's something that's not hypothetical for you right now. That tower going down, ROCCAT picks up their second. That will give them a bit of a gold lead. It's about a little over 1,000, or rather 2,000 for them. Mid lane tower, soon to fall. Airwax actually eats a charm here, but Senkux doesn't have enough damage in the tank to go, but he goes in, might be able to secure it. That's first blood. A cheeky move along with the ignite. Spirit rushing his way to a kill.
And this was exactly ROCCAT kind of overextending into that mid tower. They only had 2 people there against an Ahri. Ahri with the Abyssal is clearly going to have enough damage just to deal with 2 people on her own, as long as that LeBlanc doesn't go in. Betsy was not really confident enough, just dodges that charm, but Splyce turn their attention to this turret. Should be denied by Edward and Betsy.
Definitely, and Trashy, man. Betsy is starting to chunk people out. Airwax comes back up, immediately Void rushes into the mid lane. But that first blood has definitely got Splyce a little bit more momentum in this game. It's certainly got Senkuk some confidence. Kills have been hard to come by for this guy. And now, even though the collateral damage is blown, the Orbital Step will clear the wave. Yeah. They do hold, but they spent a lot to do it.
They did spend a lot for that, but keep in mind, Airwax used his ultimate to get towards that mid lane. The advance from ROCCAT wasn't really going anywhere in the bottom side or the top side, so it's not like ROCCAT were making any other moves across the map at this point. Airwax even drops a pink there to try and establish some control over this jungle, but that's going to get cleared out very quickly. So he's going to have to go back, pick himself up another pink ward. This is a bit of a big fight over red buff here. I'm not exactly sure this is worth it. If Trashy...
Airwax got it.
If his Q came up, he may have been able to just grab that one, but didn't have his smite.
So, all said and done, they can't keep everything in control, but Splyce, while they have fallen a bit behind in the gold game once again, they are staying relevant. They're definitely making more decisive moves than we have seen from them thus far in this fourth game of theirs. They are playing the map a little bit more correctly, and they're responding to ROCCAT.
I love what Edward's done, though. Compared to what other supports we've seen today, picking up Moby boots on other players, this time he's gone swiftness, distortion. I'm going to Q flash everybody all day, every day, get that engage. However, there is the Black Shield, there is the Tahm Kench, so I guess that's why Edward's got both. He's just looking to go in all the time. If you miss one, well, you'll have it back up in a lower cooldown anyway.
My biggest indicator as the Dragon goes down in favor of ROCCAT for a very deadly support. Noah might call it bloodthirsty, is that Ignite as Betsy, speaking of bloodthirsty, goes in. Edward misses the pulverize, and now the fight is on. A little sloppy here. Edward's stuck up, but he throws the Unbreakable. Will down. Wonderware teleporting in. Freddy soon to follow, but ROCCAT are already in a retreat path, and Splyce will keep the holding pattern in mid.
Yeah, Edward just missing that engage tool there, and then Splyce are able to turn it around. Senkuk's hit the charm on Betsy as Betsy was going in, forced the flash out from him. So you can see that Senkuk's, even though he had a rough beginning of the game, even though he's down in CS, still is going to be potent on this Ahri. We saw him play Ahri in a good few games throughout Challenger Series last year as they were Team Dignitas EU, but Splyce right now still struggling in their first few weeks of the LCS. This is a better opening for them, but they still are trailing behind ROCCAT right now.
They will, however, pick up the Rift Herald buff. It's going over to Kabi, and he moves up his way to top to try and finish off that tower. That will put some gold back in their pockets. But you're right, still trailing, still not quite able to get what they want versus this ROCCAT team, but they are playing it much better than we have seen from them. They are making decisions for once.
Yeah, they are. I actually don't mind the Rift Herald being given over to the AD carry right now.
Oh, Airwax is caught.
Airwax gets bound up.
No damage.
I mean, for now, you know Tahm Kench can hold the Gnar. You know that Ahri can hold any other lane just from the wave clear alone. So this just heightens the push here for the main pack of Splyce, with Graves hovering up here as well. Tahm Kench is up in this top lane. They could look to Abyssal Voyage if he can get in there, but Wonderware's already lost a third of his health.
Tongue lashes onto Edward, was intercepting that one. Meanwhile, in the mid, Betsy will take out the mid turret, and he jumps onto Senkuk's. Just one Sigil of Malice, doesn't double it up.
Be interested to know how Senkuk's didn't clear that wave. That was a full health wave pushing towards him, and a LeBlanc just took the turret from underneath him. It was very low. Let's be honest. It was about 2 or 3 hits. I have a preview monitor here.
I guess you can't know that. Okay.
But, it's not that heightened importance. I think it was just that the tower was fairly low as it was.
I do like what Splyce are doing here. They're sticking together and making sure they force attention from ROCCAT to force them to play that reactive game. They still have the Rift Herald buff on, and they can use it to try and finish off this tower in the mid, but ROCCAT are looking for a collapse. Edward around the side. Charm is hit. Airwalk's going in. And nothing.
Comes to nothing. Splyce was stacked for a moment, then backed away. So I actually found out what happened with that mid tower, and it was fairly interesting, believe it or not. More interesting than a couple of other things. So Senkuk's was waiting in the bush by the river to see if Betsy roamed towards top lane. And if Betsy roams up, he lands the charm, instantly kills him with the Ignite in the combo. Betsy doesn't fall for it, just goes mid lane, gets the tower.
Eyes on the prize.
Yep.
Betsy comes out ahead there. Built up a serious CS lead in this opening 18 minutes versus Senkuk's there. 178 to 144. You can see it in the difference. It's one full spooky ghost.
Yeah, one full spooky ghost, and the ghost.
And a blasting one.
The ghosts get spookier now, Pyra.
They do.
The further they travel, it's magic.
We heard all about that in Challenger.
Grow. Yeah, exactly. Well, no, in Challenger this week we had like linear spooky because we were on 524, so they didn't get any bigger, didn't get spookier. But I'm happy to be back on 6.1, and you know, I'm happy and not happy at the same time to see a blue build Ezreal. It's the most frustrating build, I think, in the history of League of Legends ever to play against, because if you're against it, you get hit, and you're like, well, I either die here or I have to flash and use all of my escapes, because the Iceborne Gauntlet slow is ridiculous.
See, I was about to say, most irritating.
Oh, it's fun to play.
Against. Yeah,
it's
playing
fun
as
to play.
it is fantastic. And Trashy's trying to dodge from the spookiness. Can't quite get away. Kabi will also get hit by that one. But in the meantime, you can see Splyce still trying to stick it around together. They are sending Senkux back after we come to the top. Betsy jumps in. Zero's out. Isbeth, hello. And he's able to just stay alive. How much health does he have?
9 health. 9
be
health
me.
he survived with in that situation. One more tick from Morgana should have been enough at that point.
That's when you type Lucker in LCAT. Wow, I can't believe he did that.
Oh man, that is... Wow. I was thinking, ROCCAT trying to set the trap. I'm not sure if it'll work. There's a whole load of blue trinkets. Nisbeth just walks in, gets blown up, gets the chains into everything, and Betsy survived. Honestly, that kind of pick shouldn't happen when you have blue trinkets available. Let's see this again. Because, look, this is where you just go, oh, LeBlanc's sitting there. Let's just blue trinket this bush.
Oh my god. And he gets stunned for ages and still makes it out.
Oh, one more tick of tormented soil. Oh, that's depressing.
But for Betsy, he's got to be wiping the sweat off his forehead there. So he picks up a hard-earned kill.
Not even close.
I hate when people do that, by the way. I get so tilted. If you ever see me in solo queue, please don't type that. All right, back to this game. Splyce 3 members deep in the middle. Saphir is out a little bit far forward. And he's had a very quiet game himself, but he's staying alive, he's staying healthy, and he hasn't made any mistakes in this game so far. So far, so good.
ROCCAT right now looking to dive onto Wonderware. He has no turret around him. Is very healthy, though.
Flashes the chains. He doesn't have to use his gray health just yet, and Trashy's coming in. Airwax actually has to burn his own flash. So they trade 1-for-1 flashes there.
But this is all a bit of a distraction from ROCCAT pushing in the middle lane as well, because look at the top lane. Ahri is there pushing for herself. That's some of the primary wave clear that Splyce have. Yes, they have 2-shot barrage available. That is half of the health of the turret going down from ROCCAT, though, as Edward is going to have to back himself away. But, you know, Senkux, if he's going to play up in this side lane, the rest of the team are going to lose ground elsewhere. He's actually losing out to the jungler here.
Yeah, Airwax is able to chase him off. The Spectre's Kel helping out a little bit there. Wonderware just out of the range of the chains, but Betsy can still keep jumping in, jumping out on him. Split push LeBlanc is coming in handy, and we talked about the tempo control. Splyce definitely seems to have lost it. They're the ones who are playing reactively now as ROCCAT have picked up a little bit more control around the map.
Yeah, ROCCAT have had decent control for the entire game. Splyce were trying to draw ROCCAT around the map just by sending Senkux to the top lane. However, on the Ahri, he doesn't have anything like a teleport, so it means he's going to have to kind of walk between lanes, and leaves him in a dangerous position for the rest of the team. Half of the health off that middle tower is already a significant amount. Keep in mind, Freddy right now has the Frozen Mallet, is building for a split push, 1-versus-1 kind of setup here. So is waiting for the point in the game where he can just take Wonderware on and Senkux. At some point, Senkux isn't going to be able to burst through Freddy, especially when Freddy's in Mega Match.
Definitely not. Wonderware is hoping to get up to that tanky level himself, as he already had the Sunfire Cape completed. Works on his next item. Looks like he'll be going for the Spirit Vicious to deal with the AP, especially coming out of Betsy. Dangerous, dangerous LeBlanc here. Moving towards, I believe, the Death Cap, the next item.
Yeah, Death Cap components are there. And because of that Death Cap, I wonder whether we'll see Kabi build an item that Deficio and I have kind of been talking back and forth a lot about this week. And that's Death's Dance. It's not a common item at all on AD carries. But realistically, the only thing that should kill Kabi in this game is Betsy bursting him instantly. If you can build the anti-assassin item Death's Dance, which spreads 12% of damage taken over 3 seconds, it may be the difference between Kabi surviving or dying, and could be the difference between a team fight being won or lost for Splyce. It still could be Blade of the Ruined King, but realistically, if anything is getting onto Kabi that is going to get active from that Blade of the Ruined King, Splyce have made something pretty bad happen in that kind of team fight.
Oh, we'll have to keep an eye on that item slot to Kabi as this game goes on. They're definitely trying to get him up into a powerful position. The Iceborne Gauntlet, of course, coming in handy already, as is the Muramana completed. And so he works his way towards the next one. But Splyce, for the moment, just want to keep ROCCAT from taking more towers. It is 3-2. ROCCAT have been able to control the Dragon Pit, so they've taken 2 very uncontested Drakes. Saphir taking a lot of damage and gets hit by the Ghost afterwards. He gets stunned by the Binding, so they've got a lot more, and
Whoa!
they take him down. Trashy blows him away while the True Shot Barrage was just on him.
Collateral damage hiding behind the True Shot Barrage. I didn't see it until it just hit. And that is enough to take Saphir out, even through the heal. And that's enough for Splyce. Those kind of picks are exactly what they need to set this game up. I thought they perhaps wouldn't have enough damage just to take out Saphir, but it's enough. Now they rotate down to the bottom side, keep Tahm Kench in the other lane just for presence, and they're able to now put pressure onto another tower. Only 3 kills, but this game has been so much more about towers.
Nisbeth had a couple of clutch bindings. He nails another one there, but it's onto a Mega Narc Freddy, so it won't result in anything. But look at Splyce, immediately realizing they can't go to the bottom lane. They're going to turn for the mid. They've got to be careful because ROC is prowling around the backside. They throw down the instant blue trinket, and they know he's there. They peel off safely, except for Wonder, who walks right into him.
Yeah, but Wonder, he's Tahm Kench at this point with Swiftness Boots. He's just like, I'm just going to walk away.
That's not him trying to eat something, that's him laughing.
Just, I'm going to walk away. Grey Health will regenerate, it's fine, don't worry.
Here comes the Ghost.
Ghosts for both sides at this point, but that's no surprise really when you look at mid laners right now. Still very effective to build Frost Queen's Claim even on 6.1. But Senkuk's opting next for that the magic penetration here, trying to just chunk through some of the Spirit Visage that's been picked up here. I wouldn't even be surprised to see Freddy as like a 3rd or 4th item pick up Hex Drink, look for more, just if he's looking to split push effectively, while it's not going to do too much against the likes of, a Tahm Kench until that Devour comes out. Against an Ahri, it'll keep him alive in Midinar fairly effectively.
Very true. With that, the pick they were able to secure a little bit earlier in the subsequent tower, Splyce have actually eked out a tiny gold lead in this, so they put themselves ahead for the first time this game. If we ever get a look at that gold graph, it'll be very close.
We have
I think,
to just
but we'll have to
zoom.
We'll have to enhance really about 3 or 4 times. But it has been a very even game, and a very conservative game, I think, from ROCCAT, despite the fact that they did have the impetus to go further and be more aggressive early on.
And this is one of the problems that this composition from ROCCAT has, is they haven't been significantly far enough ahead that they can go past the towers again and again. They've been looking for engages with Saphir and Edward, looking for picks with Betsy, but their composition, when it steps up to a turret, has to know that they can win the fight that follows. And if they can't get that fight in their advantage well enough, then ROCCAT won't make the decision to dive the tower. And what it's going to result is Splyce just consistently clearing a wave with Cobby, clearing a wave with Senkuk, and Wonderware just standing in the other lane, just not getting pushed in at all. And Splyce will temper this game and be very methodical about it. Oh! Bit of payback for that collateral damage True Shot Barrage combo for Saphir.
Yeah, it's a consolation prize, but a very stylish steal. Away as Saphir picks the blue buff up. Meanwhile, Freddy just comes out of Meganar. He runs down to the bottom side trying for this flip push, but Wonderware is there. He's got a level advantage on him. He will have to spend his hop to stay away from the danger zone of the Tahm Kench.
This is the perfect kind of champion for Wonderware, though. And I'm trying to find the right words for this, Pyro. It's the right kind of champion because it's not the likes of a Ryze where if you get camped early and fall behind, it's a tough game. Tahm Kench has very little decision-making as a team to do. All you got to do is protect your carry. That legitimately is it. He very rarely dies in a side lane like that. And for Wonderware, a player who, when it comes to teamwork, is still not at the likes of like a... I was going to say Odo Amne, but then he could have finished the game yesterday. Yeah, he's not right up there with the top laners in Europe. So it's a great champion that does exactly what Splyce need.
At the moment, it certainly has been. He hasn't been held too far behind, actually built up a pretty significant lead over Freddy for the time being. He just hasn't had too much split push with Senkuk's half his health gone like that. And Betsy dodges away from the charm. With the blue buff is zone, he can keep on spamming these abilities even faster than normal. Senkuk's has to be careful, but so far so good. He hasn't given up the ghost once this game.
You just confused me.
Like,
there have been lots of ghosts.
But he doesn't give them up.
We need like Luigi to come with the Multigust for this game. Just get rid of all of
I haven't heard a Luigi's Mansion reference in forever. Well done.
Man, I gotta fit them in where I can. This certainly seems to be the kind of game for that. Edward's been chunked though.
Oh, and he goes in, he comes out, Wonderware's in the mix, the Dragon, and there's a big Gnar against the wall. Betsy senses his opportunity, but Freddy's gonna fall as well. Kabi gets the credit for that. Airwhacked, Ignite is on, burns his flash, Senkux, one auto, it will do it. He picks up a kill, and now Betsy, Eddie, and Saphir are all on the run. Charm is nailed, the double kill for Senkux, a pickup for Wonderware, and it's just Betsy hanging around. The rest are back at spawn, and there are not looking good for Team ROCCAT right now.
It looked to be a much better fight in this setup, but the problem was the Gnar didn't hit any of the damage dealers from Splyce. It hit the 3 people that can afford to be hit in that situation. From there, everybody turns around for Splyce, and it's back to the game plan. Back to making sure their carries can carry in these fights, and that's exactly what the follow-up came with. Senkux was outputting a lot of damage, so was Kabi at this point, and man, that looked to be such a good setup for ROCCAT. I feel they almost got baited in by their own setup there. They weren't able to kill Trashy and Wonderware fast enough.
And to add insult to injury, they take a Dragon off of that, which means since that is their first one, they get the bonus stats available from it, a very important one. Of all the Dragons we can really talk about, maybe up to the 5th, which is so unlikely these days. ROCCAT are now behind a couple thousand gold, and they have to lick their wounds for a moment and realize we got to take fights better.
You say unlikely. The games today have been quite long, Pyro, compared to last week.
We're only 30 minutes in.
I'm totally with you on last week's games. We were super quick, and then week 2 we've kind of slowed the pace down to marathon games somewhat. But you know, they have had their back and forth, so we've had a couple of games that have really got... There's your gold grab!
Yes,
you
I love
got it.
Nice. Splyce in the lead. We've zoomed in well, by the way.
We have actually.
It's literally 3K difference.
The last one we had was like 8K in Fnatic QOL. This is like, well, you know,
always shown to scale.
Someone farmed a lane, and I can actually see where the variance comes from.
That's one.
Yeah, exactly.
There goes
just count them out. It's great. Yeah.
But this is, I mean, it's worth noting that this is the largest lead that Splyce has got in this game. Dare I say by far, as Eddie gets pulled back in by the Fate's call. Then definitely some yo-yoing action with that Alistar today.
Really problematic though for ROCCAT. That kind of fight that they just had by Dragon could have been the tipping point to keep them in the game. I just feel like at this point, Splyce have halted them so effectively just by clearing the waves that ROCCAT are now struggling to try and find any kind of advantage for themselves to look to fight from. And this is the time when a team can almost get baited into just bad fights by saying, well, we need to do something because we know they're going to kind of scale away from us with this Ezreal. So there are problems now that come into the shot calling aspect of ROCCAT, and I don't feel like it's something that's particularly been tested in the last 3 games for ROCCAT. And right now, they're against an opponent that realistically coming into this game, they would expect to beat, and now they're behind.
Yes, indeed. Finding themselves in an unfamiliar situation. As Trashy gets headbutted, keeps on keeping on. Split push was halted from Wonderware while we were talking. Freddy in Mega Gnar form pushed the way back. Betsy jumps in onto Wonder, but he's got a hell of a health bar, and he swallows the LeBlanc whole. Betsy, both of them getting shut down by Kabi. Saphir getting chunked and blown away. Senkux on a rampage, and he's going wild. This is the Senkux we expected to see in Europe.
This is exactly why I wanted to see Senkux on the Ahri. I know that previously their coach Yamato Cannon has been not the biggest proponent of Ahri when we've spoken to him on the analyst test, but I like the Splyce are finally finding their rhythm, finally finding a champion that works. The early game was not so great for him, but as this game opened up into a wider, more map-focused game, he's been on point.
I think Yamato will definitely have to reconsider his stance on Ahri after this game. Let's see how this all went down. It all started with Wonder and Betsy.
Well, Wonder where he is. There he is, right there, about to devour you, and then walks away. Tahm Kench has some pretty funny damage, as it is, but it's fair enough for him at that point. It's clean end to that fight for Senkux managing to pick that one up, and I actually feel like if Yamato hadn't have had a turnaround, I don't think they'd be playing the Ahri in this game, so I feel like Splyce seem to be now on the same page a little bit more with their coach.
And not a moment too soon, too. Falling 3 games to open the split, definitely not the start you would have hoped for, but, you know, the mantra for these teams has been, give us time. Splyce is definitely showing up, and as you said earlier, it goes back to doing things not in a complex manner, playing to the strengths you have. Put Wonderware on this champion like Tahm Kench if you can secure it. Give Kabi some scaling. Give Senkux this Ahri. They're firing on all cylinders now.
And now Blade of the Ruined King completed for Ezreal. Third item. It does answer my question.
We still could see a death stance.
Well,
it's not over yet.
Like, it's still good against the likes of the Gnar, the Rek'Sai bust through the tanks here. So I still think it's a good item in this sense. Just one of those options, meaningful. Oh! In goes Edward.
He's trying to make them punish for going too far forward as the teleport is canceled. Turret goes down, Airwax steps up, Freddy and Megan are around the side, but instantly Splyce bail out of a bad situation and don't lose a man. Airwax is down still, and the tower is gone. 34 minutes on the clock. Splyce might be eyeballing the top side.
Yeah, Wonderware even ran up here to prep this turret for Splyce. They knew that they didn't need the Tahm Kench anymore because ROCCAT had just used all of their engage tools. One option left, perhaps, when Airwax respawns. If Splyce stick around here in the top side, he could look to ult in behind them, but that's still a tough ask. Splyce and Senkux right now, they're going to take down this inhibitor turret. This is much better out of Splyce.
Much more decisive indeed. They will take themselves an inhibitor now. Still 15 seconds until the jungler from ROCCAT comes up. Wonder just tanking everything. Gray health is on, and he just doesn't have to care. Super minions and Baron minions in the top side, or super minions are on their way. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Spooky Ghosts come out, but they look like they're getting away. Betsy on their own.
Here comes the Void Assault.
See if they can get away in time. Airwax comes in. He gets immediately chunked out, but a big Gnar from Freddy and Betsy around the side. Can't finish the job. Edward's gonna get taken out. Freddy's next. A double kill over to Trashy, and it's only Betsy to defend.
Only Betsy has been pretty much the moniker of this game, perhaps. Betsy has been the only person to pick up kills for ROCCAT, and Splyce have prospered through that. They were able to just not lose enough in the early game, wave clear, play a simple strategy, and now they're going to get their first win.
It took them 4 games to get to this point, but Splyce will come up with a victory right here over ROCCAT.
That's got to feel good for this team. They've previously had success on this stage in Challenger. It's been a long time since we've seen them herald in victory on the EU LCS stage. Finally, they're able to get a win on the board. But, you know, you've got to look at this now and say, where do they go from here? Because this isn't a strategy they're going to get every single time. They need to be able to make small adaptations and not get figured out too quick. They have another week to do that, though. They've got another week to go back and prep.
Nonetheless, they have discovered some of those quintessential ingredients for victory, and if only they can find the right mix that they can bottle up and, as you said, make some small adjustments to. But for the moment, get to taste that sweet victory for the first time under the Splyce banner.
For ROCCAT, that's going to be a pretty difficult game to swallow from the early game. How they had control after the lane swap, they got the pick from Betsy, they looked to be set up very, very well in the game, but they just got stalled out. The problem was they had no real scaling component. Freddy was never really strong enough to sit in a lane on his own with this Gnar that he was looking to split push, and their comp never really came to fruition.
No, they just couldn't quite get their job done. And there were some good individual moves. I think Betsy definitely had a solid landing phase. ROCCAT did get some early pressure, but too little. And by the time they realized they were the ones losing ground, it was far too late.
Yeah, it was.